Right then, so why I started as a PT and got into fitness, and where am I heading? What's my direction? So first of all, when I was younger, I was always into football and sport, and played for football teams. I played for cricket teams. Always had a good interest in PE and whatnot and sports. So I've always had that background. When I were younger, I went through a phase when I was probably about 10, 11, when I had a bit of puppy fat. It didn't get ridiculous. That fell off. The amount of football I were doing at that time were keeping me in okay nick. Got to about I'd say year 11, when you start. Obviously, I know you're not meant to, but when you start introducing alcohol and whatnot to your repertoire, I think that when I got to that stage, I'd joined a band as well. We did pretty well with the band. We were all over. We used to gig all over the place. Some really good venues. But of course, what comes with that is practicing, say, once or twice a week, where you'd always get some cans with lads, and you'd always order a takeaway and whatnot once we'd done. Then it'd come to a weekend where we'd be out gigging and getting smashed and whatnot, and that ends up creeping up on you. So by the time I'd got to kind of sixth form age, I'd developed a decent belly. It were all paid for, but it worked great. And I remember at the time, don't get me wrong, you know, I make it out like I was 100% confident. I didn't like living like that, you know. I did used to laugh about it, and I used to take my top off at every God-given opportunity with my mates, and we used to, you know, they used to draw on my belly and all sorts. It were absolute comedy gold. One that I'll always remember is that I don't know if you remember Stavros Flatley they were on like Britain's Got Talent or something like that. We went out on a night out, and all the lads pinned me down and drew a Greece flag on my belly, or a Cyprus flag on my belly, and I'll always remember stuff like that. You know, that they certainly didn't used to hold the punches. But anyway, it started getting to a period where I needed to do something about it. I met Amy, who I'm with now, and fell head over heels for her. And I was literally at that stage where I do hope to fucking pull this bird. So the first thing was I need to lose a bit of weight, because there were lads sniffing round that at that time were in normal, you know, normal shape, and I were there with a big bought beer belly, bought and paid for beer belly. But luckily I had a bit of good chat, I think, and some good banter, and I ended up cracking on with it. But in this process, I were absolutely hell bent on getting the weight off. So I used to work for at Royal Summer Alliance at this point, and I used to run on to Fitness First, which was quite near it. On my lunch hour, I'd do sprints for 20 minutes on the treadmill, and then I'd run back on. I'd have a quick shower. I weren't a scruffy bastard, and then I'd run back on to work, and I did that for ages, and it started working. In terms of diet, I was flitting in and out. I was doing stuff like Weight Watchers, I were doing all sorts just to try and get some off. But until I started really calorie counting, it didn't start falling and having an idea. So that's why I always advise that as my first go-to thing with clients. I got into the habit of eating 6 times a day, and even when I was still quite chubby, you know, I was still eating 6 times a day, but it were within these calories, so it kind of started coming easy. Then I got into lifting. I still had a little bit of weight on me at this point, but I thought, I think it was Lee Richardson, one of PT's down at Fitness First, that kind of got me into this. He said, look, you burn as many calories, if not more, lifting weights. You want to get into that. And I started getting into that, realised I were pretty strong, to say that I'd never touched out. You know, I'd never touched a weight in my life. And it was just coming quite natural. I got good at deadlifting. Got half decent at squatting, and then I thought, you know what, I'd like to do this as a life. So I ended up finding a personal training course online, and I went. I went one day, no, 2 days a month. Was it 2 days a month? 2 weekends a month. And it were. I have got a funny story actually for that I could. Shall I save it for another one? No, I'll tell you. So during this PT course, I didn't drive at this point, and I must have had. I were eating chicken and rice constantly, and I must have undercooked some chicken the day before. And anyway, my mum used to drive me over there. To cut a long story short, I can't even believe I've started telling you this story, but I'm going to have to go through with it now. But anyway, I'm 10 minutes away from this personal training centre, which were in Cookridge. And I thought, oh my God, my belly don't feel great at all. And I says, Mum, can you pull up? I need to go out low. She was like, Chris, I can't, I'm on motorway. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go. And I ended up shitting myself. Sat in my mum's car on the way to one of my personal training classes that I were doing. So I had to ring up and kind of be brutally honest. Look, say I've not only got the shits, I've shit myself on the way. So yeah, I don't even know why I started going into that, but yeah, it's not always been butterflies and rainbows. But anyway, did this course and I became a personal trainer. And I just enjoyed helping people kind of not only do what I'd done, but say if it was someone on the other end of the spectrum, like I mentioned it on another video, someone skinny building up. I just love seeing one, people's frame change, but two, the confidence as well. I think there's nothing better than that. So yeah, that were one of the main reasons that I did do that. Then I got, as I say, I was getting quite strong at this point, and I was enjoying my compound lifts. So I got into powerlifting, squat, bench, and dead, and I got to a really good level with that. I should have pushed this further, really. I were at British. I'd qualified for the British Championships at one point of it, and I do wish that I'd have gone further with it, but I got a bit of an injury in my shoulder, which has niggled me ever since, and it just halted my progress. So really, if I was to go back and have a word with my old self, it'd have been to keep on top of stretching and mobility, but I've never learned with that because I'm sat at the minute with the same injury that I've never mobilised and stretched. So it's just one of them things. But I got pretty good at powerlifting. I won. No, I didn't win. I finished second in one that was all of the north. It were all of the north, I think. There were Newcastle involved and Yorkshire. Anyway, I finished second in that, which were probably my best achievement in that, and that was what qualified me for the British Championships, which I never ended up getting to because of the injury. But I still looked a little bit at this stage. I bulked up, so I'd kind of gone. I'd got really skinny when I'd lost all my weight, and then I'd bulked up in a sense. If you like, it was like a long off season, but I had got a little bit chubby at this point. And I still had like my old habits of body dysmorphia there, so I was bothered about how I looked. So for me, the powerlifting ended up halting really because of vanity, because I started getting bothered about how I looked. I wanted to look good, I looked at these bodybuilders and I thought, fucking hell, I want to look like one of them. So that led me on to starting training like a bodybuilder. I probably had a bit of a transition period where I still trained half powerlifter, half bodybuilder, but it's served its purpose because I've stayed strong in the transition. It's just different now, and I ended up throwing myself in at deep end like I've always believed in and done myself, and entered a bodybuilding show, and that were probably the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. 16 weeks of hard prep, really hard, to the stage where maybe the last 6 weeks I didn't even want to know anyone, I didn't want to socialise, I didn't even want to get up at times. So it's and I had to drag my ass out and do an hour and 45 minutes on Stairmaster. It was one of them things. I had to get myself lean, and for someone who's predisposed to being a bigger lad, it does sometimes take a lot more effort. I'm not taking it away from people who've got abs all year round. They have their own struggles, but it really is fucking difficult to get yourself down to that. But I did it, and I stood on stage. You know, I enjoyed it, and I'm in a bit of a weird phase at the minute. I am in an off season, and I am trying to grow. But I'm also in two minds. I do want to compete again, but the kind that scenario of the prep has kind of, I won't say tainted it, but it's made me think, do I want it, don't I want it? So I'm still a bit like that, but it hasn't halted my goals. I'm still trying to grow as big as I can, and I still will get myself into some sort of condition when it comes round to it. Whether it be that I push it that step further and jump on stage, I don't know. We'll have to see how as we go with that. I'm not. One of my things with myself is that I'm too much of a socialite. I love, and at the minute with the lockdown and whatnot, I can't do that. So it's quite easy for me at the minute. But I know damn well that when it gets back round to my mates saying to me, "Come on, shall we go do frigging Otley Run?" Or, you know, Amy saying to me, "Come on, let's go for a meal." I know that's more important to me than kind of those goals. So it's tough really. I'm in a rock and a hard place. So the truth be told, I haven't got a goal at the minute. My only goal is to build muscle. But in terms of competitions and whatnot, as I say, I'm unsure yet. We will decide as we go. See how we're looking. But one thing's for sure, if I do go back on stage, I won't be bringing the same package as before. It'll be bigger and better. So yeah. I hope you've enjoyed that, especially the story about me shitting myself. But yeah, DM me if you want any information, not about me shitting myself, but about any of the other topics discussed. Cheers, thanks a lot.